decoding consciousness through sacred architecture, light and sound. There's a lot to cover, so I'm just going to do a little intro, just so you know where you're at during this talk. I'm going to talk about brain entrainment. So, I don't know if you know what that is. Has anyone heard of brain entrainment? Cool. Not many people. Okay, so I want to explain all about that. And that will then lead into how sacred architecture affects our consciousness. And we'll explore, are there hidden codes in architecture, the symbols and art, and then how we can use this ancient wisdom, whether it was intentional or whether it was intuitive, and then put that back into our own art and how I use it. So, tell you a little bit about myself. I am a composer, a music producer, a DJ, and I work with brain entrainment. I'm going to explain what that is. I also have a group called Conscious Explorers. So that's something I've been doing my whole life. I've been exploring consciousness. I don't quite know what it even means, but it's always been something I've been very, very curious about. I've had out-of-body experiences my whole life, ever since I was a little kid, lucid dreaming, all kinds of weird and wonderful things, and I now sometimes teach people how to have those experiences. I don't make any claims about what they are. I'll just show you how to do it, and you can decide what's going on. I also have a therapy called loop-busting therapy, which I invented when I got over a 27-year battle with bipolar and realized that actually it was a giant loop. And if only I'd known that earlier, I would have been able to crack it. And now it's been 6 years and I have none of that, so that's great. So I travel the world, and I'm a nomad. I don't have a home. And I go to sacred sites and I make music. This is my life. And I'm very interested in spaces of high energy that inspire awe and transcendence. So that could actually be anything. You know, that could be wherever someone feels it. So this is where I feel it, where I feel like, wow, okay, there's something profound happening here. Oh, that's an immersive world. I don't know why that slide's in there, but I used to work a lot in this kind of thing. These are immersive worlds. It's a bit of a buzzword right now, but if you know about them, they like recreate experiences, and you go in there, and they really are places of transcendence, actually, because you lose yourself. And I think I learned a lot doing this kind of work. So I'll just start with a little story about how I got into all of this. So I was asked a few years back to come to the Monroe Institute to do a workshop on creativity. They asked like 12 people from around the world if they would come and trial this workshop. And the Monroe Institute used tones, they used brain entrainment tones to encourage the brain to do certain things. So in this particular example, it was to be more, to enhance creativity. Just to tell you a little bit about the Monroe Institute, it was started by this guy. This is Bob Monroe. In, I think it was the 50s, he started having out-of-body experiences, and he didn't understand what was going on. He just was quite probably freaked out by it. So he had a lot of money. He was a radio producer, and he started this institute, and he got some scientists in, and he was like, I want you to tell me what's happening, what's going on. But in order for them to do that, they also needed to have these out-of-body experiences. So they worked out that by modulating sound, they could encourage the brain of those scientists to also have these experiences so that they could go and do their tests and try and work out what was going on. And then they discovered that actually you could use this entrainment in many, many different ways for all kinds of things. People will be skeptical about the spoon bending thing. Who's skeptical about spoon bending? Yeah, I don't blame you. I was also very skeptical. I bent these ones. It's not telekinesis, it's psychokinesis. So it's done, you do touch them. I could not bend these for the life of me when I first came, and I was getting very frustrated with it, but I did learn how how to do it. You get into a space of very high energy, a space of love. And it's like you get a superhuman strength, and suddenly the thing just bends. It's a thing. Anyway, whilst I was here, this guy here, the tall guy, his name is Robert. For some reason, let me know if I'm in the way. Everybody who works at the Monroe Institute is called Bob or Robert. So this is Robert and this is Bob, and I'm going to call him Bob Monroe. Robert asked me, like, I don't know if he was joking, but he was like, he just said it in front of the class. He was like, Caz, can you make me a track that will put me into an enlightened state? And I said, that's really a big ask. I could try, but I don't know if that's going to happen. And then I just parked it at the back of my head and forgot about it. Then we went to go and do an exercise, and some of the people in the class, they didn't like the kind of music they put on top of the tones. So they used these modulating tones. I'm going to explain that. But then they put music on top, kind of to disguise it. And there was this one guy who was into heavy metal, and he was like, please remove the music. Can we just have the tones? So I did this exercise just with the tones, and I fell asleep. And when I woke up, I don't hate the word download, it's so overused, but I just got like a package almost in my head with all the elements of this track, how it was going to sound, and it was pretty weird. It had like blues guitars, and then it had some sort of progressive house, and then it had didgeridoos, and it had some singing in it, but I like knew the whole thing. So I went back to Robert, and I was like, I know your track. And he was like, well, you have to make it right now. What do you need? And I said, can I make it in front of the forest? So he set me up in front of the forest, and that's exactly where I made this track. Then it was time to leave, and I had missed getting a train ticket because I left it to the last minute. So Robert said, I'm going to give you a lift. So he said, wait half an hour. So I waited half an hour, and this minibus drove by while I was waiting. And I had this sudden instinct, you must get on the minibus. So bear in mind, I'd done like a week of meditating. I was really in a very kind of open state. I'd done a week of meditating, got this instinct. I thought, I'm going to listen to it. And I got on the minibus. And I met this couple. Actually, not there. The bus went to another stop. This couple got on. And they were so radiant. They were so excited. They'd just done the spoon bending course. And they had even more impressive spoons than that. They had thick things bent in triple knots. And I was like, I can't believe this. I'm very open-minded, but I'm also very skeptical. I was like, how is this possible? And so the whole journey, this couple is talking to me about how they did it. This is before I'd done this one. This is a later course. Explaining to me how they did it. And I barely said a word. And then it got to where the bus was to let some people off at the train station, about an hour away. And I got another instinct. You must get this lady's number. So she'd showed me this picture of this crystal, which is at the Institute. And she's like, I'll WhatsApp it to you. So that was that. A year passed, and I had not finished this track. So I had done some singing in it, but I have real issues with my voice. I thought, I'm going to redo it. I'm going to make the vocals better. But I hadn't done it. So I thought, right, to encourage me to get this done, I'm going to send the track to Bob. Bob is the master of tones. He's the one that makes these brain entrainment tones. So I sent it to Bob. I was like, Bob, can you put tones in it that will make someone enlightened, please? And he was like, yeah, leave it with me. He did this. But then rather than send it back to me, when it wasn't even finished, he played it in his workshop. And I was so pissed off. I was like, I can't believe you played it. This is not finished. It's got my bad singing in it. And he was like, no. Everyone loved it. They never heard anything like it. He said, and this one woman, she had this complete spiritual experience that totally changed her life. And I was like, okay, he's probably just trying to like warm me up and, make me feel better about it. But all right, that sounds nice. Anyway, just a bit later, so at this time I was in Nepal and I was climbing a mountain, and I got this text message from the lady on the bus. So this was the lady who had had the spiritual experience, and she had gone to him. He hadn't said who had made the track. She went to him and said, who made this track? And she then realized that she had my number. So she sent me this text, and it says, and I couldn't hear the voice messages because I wanted to save my battery to get to the top of the mountain. So I just received this text. One more thing. When you help me, and you did, I get to help around 2,000 people. Have you ever heard the saying that one person makes a difference? You made a difference. I was like, what? I didn't even know what she was talking about. I was like, really? That sounds great, but I don't know what you're talking about. And then later, I heard these messages, and she said, something in your music made something pop in me, and it completely, totally changed my life forever. And so I sent her this picture. This was me and my partner at the top, well, nearly at the top, very happy. And she said, and you know what? I want you to keep doing this. Whatever you did, you must keep doing it. She said, I will pay for you and your partner to come and do the Gateway experience at the Monroe Institute. And not only that, I will pay for you for the rest of your life to keep learning how to do this brain entrainment, how to make this music. I will do whatever you need to do because you have to keep doing it. So I was like, what? This was like the craziest thing I've ever heard. And I just couldn't even believe it. But she was true to her word. Me and my partner went and did that course, which was like £6,000 worth of course. They're not cheap. And she has consistently, her and her partner, paid for me to keep going back there, keep learning about brain entrainment, and keep making music like this. All of this from this crazy track that this guy asked me about. I then, of course, send it to Robert. Oh, I don't have that picture there anymore. Robert, the tall guy, who asked for it. I didn't say anything to him. I just sent it to him. And he told me afterwards that the second he put it on, he knew something incredible was going to happen. And he said he went for a walk. He was putting on an art show, and he dreamt of getting this guy, this is in Hong Kong, who was like the big guy in putting on art things in Hong Kong. And he said he just knew if he would listen to it, some magic would happen. And lo and behold, he gets on the train, and that guy's there, and he was so excited about it. He's like, there was something in that track, something magical happened. So it's really hard to believe this. I'm so even back then, even more, sort of shy and insecure about my music. And then there's all this fuss about this one track, which honestly is weird, right? But I was like, what's going on? Could there be something in this brain entrainment? Could it be, what is happening? So I just got on a mission with it. And I thought, this is going to be my mission. I'm going to make music with the intent. And I know this is a big ask. Who knows? I mean, all music, I think, elevates consciousness. So it's a bit of an annoying thing to say. But I'm going to put that intent into it. And that would enhance good feelings, make people feel good, is enjoyable, inspire others. Put more love in the world. When I made that track, I had such love for Robert. He made a lot of things happen. I wouldn't have been there without him. So there was a lot of love in it, and just opens up conversations like hopefully we're having now. Yeah, then I got to thinking, what is this transcendent state that he was even asking for? What does it even mean? And I was like, okay, it's ego loss, it's connection to something greater than oneself. Generally, when you're in an enlightened state, you're in a sense of profound presence. It's a strong, positive feeling. You have a shift in awareness, and often you gain insight. So I thought, well, if there's any way I can help facilitate that with music, I want to know everything about that. And so I looked at that track, and I was like, what were the ingredients? What made this happen? Oh, actually, no, I'll get to that in a minute. No, I will show you that. Just going to show you this picture. This is, I played that track at Boomtown. I didn't tell them there was anything. I mean, it was just a DJ set. They didn't know anything. But they all hugged the speaker without me saying anything. It was the most beautiful thing. They just all gathered round and hugged the speaker for whatever reason, which was a very beautiful experience. Anyway, so I thought, what are the ingredients of this track? So it was created in a sacred place of high energy. The Monroe Institute is on a mountain that it's all crystal underneath. There's a lot of kind of spiritual places, like Buddhist centers and things like that. They've all come there because it feels like there's high energy, whatever that means. Obviously, the track had an intention. I was not attached to the outcome because I didn't even think that was going to happen. I had meditated a lot. There was presence, was made with love. I followed my intuition. It was not perfect. When I later asked Sheila, what was it in the track that made you, where was it that you popped? She said, it was when I was listening to your vocals and you didn't quite hit the high note. That's what made it happen. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. It was the bad singing that I was trying to get rid of and redo that made this happen. So I just left it like that. And it contains brain entrainment. Okay, that's the track. We may listen to it later. So what is brain entrainment? Well, the brain entrainment is a way to encourage the brain to shift to a specific state for a specific purpose. So anything really, like anything you want to entrain the brain to, you can do. So how does it work? So the brain has brain waves, all the usual gamma, beta, alpha, theta, delta, and they all have like different rates. They're all happening all of the time, but depending on what you're doing, some are more dominant. So for example, if you're sleeping, you're going to have way more delta. If you're exercising, probably more beta. If you're listening, more alpha. But they're all happening all at once. And brain entrainment uses rhythmic patterns to encourage the brain in the directions that you want, to create like a sync. And this is called a frequency follow response. And there's many, many, many ways of doing it. And so, yeah, you can entrain any brain. The way you would do it is you would look at someone doing something, say someone's rock climbing. If you could put an EEG machine on them, you can see what's going on. You can get a pattern of which waves are higher than the other. And then you create entrainment with sound or light or many other ways of doing it to encourage the brain in that way. And it's a very gentle thing. It's not like mind control. I describe it like a gentle breeze that sort of, imagine you were walking and I was like, just follow the breeze. You'd be like, okay, I'm going to go this way. But if you didn't like it, you didn't like the music, you didn't want to do it, you just wouldn't do it. So here are some examples of brain entrainment. You've got binaural, which is the one that many people have heard of. Who's heard of binaural? Okay, about half of you. I'll explain a little what that is. Isochronic you've all heard of, even if you don't know it. Like that's basically a dance beat. It means there's volume, no volume, volume, no volume. It's the shamanic beat, that puts you in a trance. Phase modulation is sound moving in different places. There's like more than 50 that the Monroe Institute use. Then there's flickering light. You can flicker light at different rates, and it will encourage the brain into different states. Geometric shapes. Haptic is, sensory on the body. You can sync it to the audio or the light, and that enhances it. Actually, there's a lady giving a massage in the Cyberdelic Society. She's using a haptic bed with tones from the Monroe Institute, and she's doing massage, and there's probably music there as well, so you get a nice stack there. Then we have like self-produced rhythms, like the heartbeat, breathing, hypnagogic imagery. These are things that you can entrain too. And then there's some other ones. Electromagnetic, I won't get into that too much. Brain to brain, it's just mirror neurons. When you're around other brains, you entrain to them, which is why they say you are like an accumulation of the 5 people you hang out with most. So pick wisely. This is binaural. So binaural sends one modulating tone to one ear and a different one to another ear. And there's like a difference. So in this example, one's 315 and the other is 325, and there's a 10 hertz discrepancy. And the brain doesn't like that unsynced. It's like, doesn't like it. So it kind of pushes there, and that pushes the 10 hertz frequencies in the brain a little bit more. This is what sound waves look like. You can see they actually look, like the brain waves at those different levels. They're much more faster at the gamma and much slower at the delta. This is just how one of the light entrainment devices. This one's called a Roxeva. The lights, for some reason on this picture they're yellow. They're actually white. but they're just white LED lights. But when you close your eyes underneath it, you see the most extraordinary colors. Like, it's just so vividly, beautifully colored and geometric shapes. It's totally trippy. I was nearly going to bring one, but there is a thing that 3% of people have epilepsy, and a small percentage of them have light sensitivity. And some people don't know that, and we are in the middle of nowhere, and we didn't want to take the risk. But it's very, very, very super cool. You should definitely try it if you get a chance. So the rave is the ultimate entrainment, because you have the music beat, which is isochronic entrainment. Then you have the flashing lights. Then you have dancing rhymes, I've put, rhythm. So dancing, you're actually moving your body in a rhythmic way, which is creating entrainment in your mind. If you were somewhere where you were chanting, that would add another whole other level. And then, of course, you've got mirror neurons. You're connecting to the other people in the on the dance floor, and you're becoming like one organism. You're becoming a crowd. It's a beautiful thing as a DJ to see the individuals, that moment when they've become cohesive, and now you have the crowd. And then there's these things that support the entrainment, like the environment, the space, the temperature, psychedelic drugs, any kind of drugs, chemical drugs, smoke machines, and even novelty. They all enhance the entrainment. So this is the probably most peer-reviewed, it's had a lot of stuff on it, is the 40 hertz frequency with sound and light. It's very exciting for Alzheimer's disease. We're seeing 77% slowing in decline function. So it's not curing it, but it's massively halting it. We're seeing the main thing there is the reduced amyloid levels, which is improving cognition, and they think they can pretty much just stop it in its tracks. You only have to listen for 20 minutes 3 times a week. So imagine if you started to do that before this kind of kicked in, if you knew that maybe you were prone to it. So there's loads of studies on that you can have a look at. Okay, the Mona Lisa, she's a very interesting lady. She's one of the most famous paintings in the world. But why? She's okay. She's quite nice, but what is so hypnotic about her? Why is she so well known? Well, she brain entrains you with your oscillating attention. So there's a lot going on. Is she smiling? Is she frowning? Or is she judging you? You can't quite tell. You're looking at her and you're like, I don't know what she's doing, but it kind of changes no matter, depending how you look at her. Also, where is she looking? If you move around, her eyes seem to follow you. And are you looking at her? Is she looking at us? Then you've got this weird thing with the water. I don't know if you can see, there's this water up here, and then we don't see what happens, but there's water down there. So there's a strange difference. This water here, there's one is choppy, one is calm, that bit up there. There's also where are the boundaries of it? There's a lot of golden ratio stuff going on in here, and platonic solids. She's also missing her eyebrows and eyelashes. And at the time that this was painted, you wouldn't paint a rich lady without jewelry. You just wouldn't do that. But she doesn't look poor either. So she's again what's going on with her? And who is she? There's mystery surrounding her. Da Vinci spent a long time painting her for some reason. But she captures your attention, and there's questions going back and forth whether you realize it or not. It's very, very cleverly done. I think he knew what he was talking about when he did these things. Who's done a Mandelbrot zoom before? Okay, now we can see if this... All right, see if we got sound. If there's no sound, it doesn't matter. There's a track in here that I made called Freedom or Death. It does have entrainment in it, but that's not really the point of this thing. If you stare at it just for 1 minute and a half, try not to blink or move away. Just keep a point, stare at it, and then when the music breaks, see what happens to your brain. Okay, just stare. Look at the words. Do they do anything weird for you? Did anyone get any weirdness? Yeah, some of you. Maybe it wasn't long enough. Anyway, you can look them up on YouTube, Mandelbrot Zooms, and it does stuff to you. You have this geometry that's repeating and repeating and repeating, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. All right, so sacred architecture. So what is sacred architecture? Well, it inspires transcendence and awe. It utilizes natural and sacred geometry, which are slightly different. Well, they're different things. These buildings are normally above water. There's a lot I could say about that, and that's a very interesting why they're above water, but we don't have time for that. They're geographically aligned, and they're astrologically positioned. So there's usually, something going on with the astrological bodies. They're built places of high energy, and they use light and sound intentionally. And of course, they usually have some mysterious origins. We don't know how they're made, and they have some phenomena around them that, are a mystery to us. So why does it inspire awe? Well, they were created for these purposes. These are places of worship and, to honor maybe a god or something like that. But they use geometries that they resonate with the geometries within us. So the most obvious one is the golden ratio, which comes out of the Fibonacci sequence. And we see that shape. It's just like everywhere. It's all with the dimensions of our arm to our fingers to our hands. It's all over everything. And so when we put it in, when it's been put into architecture, it seems that we find this very pleasing. And then they've used sound and light very intentionally. Sometimes maybe they were intuitive about it. Maybe they didn't know the science behind it, but they're using sound and light in a very specific way. So we'll look at a few of these examples. So modern concrete dampens sound, but ancient stone prolongs it. That seems to be the big difference. In those days, they made these things from granite and sandstone and stones that would give you long reverbs or echoes. And this is Gumbaz in India, which has a very, very long reverb. You see in a lot of these places, these pillars, and they act as echo chambers. And an echo in itself is a kind of entrainment, because you've got sound, no sound, 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 and it does something. It does something in the brain. It gives a sense of the infinite as well. This is the Chichen Itza. And I don't know, has anyone been there before? Yeah, of course you have been. They have this amazing Quetzal chirp. So I'll just play this little tiny video.
2 and 3. Here, one more time.
It's not very
1,
loud.
2 and 3. Great.
Yeah, so when they clap like that, they make that bird sound that comes afterwards from the echo. And they also set up that whole the whole space to be able to echo like 11 times. So someone could stand at the top of one place, say something, and the echo would keep echoing and echoing and echoing so that everyone could hear what was going on. And you get a similar thing at this place that I can never pronounce. It's something like Teotihuacan. I know I got it wrong, but you know what I mean. Anyway, you can see this a lot. Then you got like circular layouts like Stonehenge, which were very intentionally designed to show the solstices. But the circle is also like very acoustically powerful. They can reduce sound loss, it can boost clarity, it can even enhance bass. So Stonehenge is made of these two types of stones. The blue stones, the dolerite stones, when you strike them, they produce a ringing sound. Those stones came from 180 miles away, and it makes you wonder, like, if it was just about the geometry, they could have used any stones and respected the geometry and respected the, how the light came in, but there was obviously a reason that they thought was important to go all that way to get that kind of stone. And they weigh 2 to 4 tons each, which is a lot. The sarsen stones are even more heavy, 30 to 40 tons. That's 3 double-decker buses in a stone. They came from 20 miles away, and they do a different thing. They contain the sound, and that could be to create like this bass-heavy space where it would enhance chanting and drumming. This is Newgrange in Ireland. So I don't know whether they did it for this reason or not. I don't think anyone's quite sure. But the sound there is infrasound range, so it's below the human hearing range. And this does do something to your consciousness. It can produce feelings of awe, it can produce uneasy feelings, but it certainly like gives you a slightly altered state of consciousness. Whether they did this on purpose or not, I don't know. 110 hertz, so many places, many sacred places have a resonance at 110 hertz. So what that means is if you were to do like a siren, like woo, and you suddenly like find that there's one that's really like vibrating, this is at 110 hertz, which matches male kind of chanting vocal range. So it does look like they've done that on purpose. Here are some examples of places that do that. The pyramids. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to play you this or not. But anyway, we went to the pyramids. And, I told you about how I feel terrible about my singing. I was with Carl. There's Carl. And something just took me over. The acoustics in there are so beautiful that I just started toning. And we were a group of 12, and there were some guys there, and some of them just started toning too. And then everybody laid down, and suddenly it was like totally being in an altered state. It was one of the most extraordinary experiences of my life. I suppose I could play you 5 seconds, but I'm just going to play you a tiny bit, but don't expect miracles. But let's see if it works. Oh, is it working? I'll have to play it to you afterwards. For some reason, my sound things have gone. Okay, later. That's enough of that. But thank you. There's quite a lot of it, and it was just, I don't know, it was just such a magical thing that happened in there. So this guy, John Stuart Reed, he went into the King's Chamber a long time before, about 20 years before, and he put a polystyrene sheet over the sarcophagus. The sarcophagus is very debatable. Like most people don't actually think it's a tomb because they never found a body in there. So, but it looks like a bath basically, and you can, if you're lucky, you can get in it. The guards will try and get lots of money out of you to do that. But anyway, you can get in it and you can tone, and it's amazing. He put this thing over it to try and get like a cymatic response. Do you know what cymatics is? Does anyone not know what cymatics is? Okay, so there you see like a plate, and if you put like salt or sand on it and you play a sound, the sand and the salt will go into particular shapes. And usually they go into like geometric shapes. So actually you can see there the different resonant tones that were, these were not in the pyramid. This is just what normally happens. You play 440 hertz and you'll get that shape. He went in there and he played various tones, and he got this. He got like, I can never say this word, hieroglyphics. He got hieroglyphics showing on top of the sarcophagus, which I never seen that anywhere before. What does it mean? I don't know, but that looks very much like the Eye of Horus. And he also talked about there's a film, you can find it on YouTube, how he healed his back problems getting in there and doing this. So the monk chants, you may have noticed that when monks chant, they kind of like do this warbling effect. I don't even know if that's a real word, but I don't know if I've got any sound here. Let me try. Well, that was very short, but it was enough to give you, it kind of goes, ooh. And they write, you can see that how the notation is written. It's actually, they're told how to modulate their sound. And that is the important thing. I tried to talk to them about it, but there was a language barrier. But from what I understood, there was no tuning. They didn't use a tuning fork to find out what note to get in. They just automatically just found it. But this, how it modulated, was the important thing, and it's written into their notation. This is brain entrainment. That they probably don't call it that, but that's exactly what it is. All right, let's have a little look at light. So Islamic architecture is quite incredible with light, and they use it to create feelings of transcendence and awe. But something happens as you walk in past these windows. You are getting a modulating light effect, and they use their colors very intentionally as well. You may have seen this. I'm going to say the word wrong. Mashrabia or jali. These are perforated screens that you'll see in many ancient buildings, and they're actually designed to reduce the intensity of the heat and the glare. But they also provide a very tranquil, very peaceful kind of feeling when you're behind them. Again, they use complex geometric patterns, which may be having an effect on your consciousness. We'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. And then, of course, you've got these stained glass windows that you see in many Gothic churches. Again, they modulate light as you're walking past them. And it's been shown to put the brain into alpha theta brainwave states. Many of these buildings didn't have lights. It was a long time ago, so they used fire. And fire is a type of flickering light brain entrainment. It's inconsistently flickering, so it doesn't have one frequency, but it oscillates between 7 to 13 hertz. And this, again, creates this alpha theta brain range. Christopher Lynn did a study, and he showed that watching fire for 15 minutes lowered blood pressure. And the effects of that were even stronger when you heard the sound of the fire. I think, we all feel that. When you sit in front of a fire, it does something to you. It calms you down. So we have a little look at geometry. So we talked about these two things earlier. There's natural geometry. These are things that we find in nature everywhere. Thought to be, they're everywhere, from like the galaxies to our eye. These are geometries that appear again and again. And then you've got sacred geometry, which are shapes. Now this is, I even struggle with this one. Anyway, we'll get to sacred geometry in a minute. Just to tell you about the Great Pyramids. The Great Pyramids have the golden ratio encoded in them. They're aligned with true north. There's a lot of debate that they're pointing at Orion's belt and Sirius. They were to either, some people say 2,550 years BC, and other people say 10,500 years BC, and there's a whole debate about how old the pyramids are. But either way, it appears that they were created to be aligned in this way. But the really weird thing is that they sit at this latitude, 29.979245 north latitude, which just happens to be the speed of light in meters, which makes, is that just a coincidence? Because they definitely didn't have meters per second back in those days. But there's weird stuff like that. I mean, it may just be a coincidence, but... Okay, so this is us in the Giza pyramids, and this was interesting. I took in a Muse headband. I put the Muse headband as an EEG machine, a very crude one, and I measured our brain waves. And we were really excited, and we were really happy. And what you should have seen was probably a lot of gamma. We were definitely very awake. So not, like delta probably would have been the lowest, but that's not what happened. This is what happened. So this is a measurement of Carl's brain waves, and as you can see, his delta is way higher than anything else, suggesting that he should be asleep. Gamma very, very low, beta low. This is like super chilled and relaxed. It's pretty extraordinary. Anyway, then I asked Carl to do a mathematical equation, and the thing flatlined. So, it shouldn't have been like that. We couldn't work it out. We tried it on all of us. We all showed really high delta. The building, the space, was doing something to us that didn't make sense. So the golden ratio in your brain, there has been quite a few studies suggesting that the golden ratio works within the brain in quite a few different ways, and it's quite complicated to explain. So I'm not going to try, but I do have studies if you want to see. But one of them is how brain waves are spaced. Here's some others, like how we visualize is encoded in the golden ratio, and how it's coded. By the way, if I put something on a slide and I shoot past and it's too quick, people who put too much information on slides and you're like, I couldn't get it all, and it's really annoying, and I've probably done that, so feel free to ask. Okay, sacred geometry, very interesting. So these are these shapes. You see them everywhere. They're in a lot of art. They're in a lot of sacred sites, especially this flower of life, the Sri Yantra, I think you call it. Anyway, they appear over and over again. It appears, and there has been some studies on it, that if you meditate on certain shapes, this could be to do with the fact that the brain likes symmetry and parallelism, and it triggers this kind of recognition in the brain. Studies have shown that it does something something to do with your visual cortex, and it puts you into an alpha state, alpha beta wave sync. This particular building, as you can see, is totally based on one of these shapes. So these people thought it was important. We see again these shapes in mandalas. We see them in crop circles, and we see them in cymatics, the sound being visualized by the salt and stuff. And they're remarkably similar. There is a theory that the monks who make these mandalas so they make them with sand, and then once they've done them, they blow them away and they're gone, and that's it. So one of the theories is that they're passing down knowledge. They're also doing it as a form of meditation, because that takes extreme discipline And then just to get rid of it, it's very like let go, non-attachment thing that they like to do. But also, maybe there is something encoded in these shapes that they want to remember. Maybe it is even a cymatic tone that is important to them in some way. I don't know for sure. So I have to mention the work of Ibrahim Karim. He's got this thing called biogeometry, and he uses shapes, geometric shapes, to both heal the body and to heal the land. I struggle with this. My scientific brain struggles with this. He's put shapes down on land that had problems, and he's worked for big things like the Swiss government, and there's lots of studies that he's done with big people where he's just put his geometries on the ground, and the ground has suddenly become fertile, and he's fixed it. I can't get my head around it. It feels like, I find it easier to believe that his intention and will made that happen more than the shapes. But then I have to also just give up that I may not understand everything. Carl, you were wearing them yesterday. I don't know if you have them on today. You think they do something, right? So Carl has them, and he thinks that they make a difference. We were talking. You have another shape. Also feels it does something for you. So maybe it does. I struggle with it, but I have to put it in there, and I have to be open to the fact that, the idea is that they resonate with us, and they resonate with the land, and that can be healing. And here you see another building created in one of these sacred geometry shapes. So Islamic art, they use geometric patterns that are fantastic, just incredible designs in their architecture. They represent infinity and the nature of the universe and divine unity. And they really look like visuals we see on psychedelics. And I was wondering about that. Were they all on psychedelics? Well, I asked AI, I'll be honest. And they said no, they weren't on psychedelics. They were just showing mathematical truths through these patterns. And we also see this mathematics when we're on psychedelics. There's something about the way our visual cortex works. This was AI's theory on it. And so it looks similar. We have these like internal mathematical processes, basically. Yesterday, Derek talked about the universe being made from maths. And I think I have a sort of theory on that. I think the universe is like a computer game. So there is code, there's maths, and maybe the geometry is in that code. But the consciousness is the one playing the game, or even the one that's creating the game. So I don't think it's intrinsic to everything, but it seems to be part of the fabric of reality. These symbols, this geometry and this mathematics. And here are some beautiful examples of that. Very, very DMT, in my opinion. Also, there are processional paths and labyrinths. So when you're walking around sacred spaces, you're often encouraged, or that was why they were designed, that you would go on a certain route, and that route would create a type of entrainment along with the chanting. And of course, sometimes you need to go very, very high to get to the top of something, and that is also a form of it represents the ascent to spiritual ascendance, I guess. Let's see how much time I've got. Okay, so let's get to this quickly. So this is what I do. I go to sacred sites. I just take this little thing. It costs £99. These shit headphones, they cost £20 because otherwise I'd lose them. And I take samples of them, and I do toning, and I hit things, and I record them, not anything damaging. I create impulse responses, and I use LiDAR. I'll explain that in a minute. Oh, okay, well, here's a little. The resonance in this place, this is Angkor Wat, was, I don't know know if you can hear how booming it was, but it seemed to have some amazing acoustics. So Angkor Wat is one of my favorite sacred sites. And what you see here is that there is a pattern that's repeated everywhere. It's in the art, this kind of cone, pine cone shape. It could be the pineal gland thing that, people talk about. This shape, again, is found in many, many places. The Pope even has it on his stick. You see it in so many different cultures. What does it mean? It could mean the pineal gland. It could represent the pineal gland. How interesting that the Eye of Horus, the one that appeared, with the cymatic pattern, is so similar to what the brain looks like. And, there is the pineal gland sitting there. Is this just a coincidence? I don't know. But we see this Eye of Horus in so many different places. Okay, so this is Angkor Wat, and this is a LiDAR scan. Who knows what LiDAR is? Okay, so if you've got an iPhone 15 or more, I think, you can take a LiDAR scan, and what you do is you sort of just scan the space, and it takes like a 3D model of it. It's super cool. If you don't have one, a lot of these sacred sites, the LiDAR information is available online. I'll show you. That's what it actually looks like. It's just a lot of data, but it will render you a model of the place that you are in. So one of the things, I'm always thinking of like ideas to, is there magic in this sacred geometry? Can I put it into my music? So I took this LiDAR data. This thing is up again. Okay, never mind. And look, this is MIDI. Do you know what MIDI is? MIDI is instructions to a synthesizer or something on your computer to play notes. So I was like, I want you to play me notes in the shape of Angkor Wat. And I made a track out of it. It was very difficult to do because I had lots of, you see this shape everywhere, and I was trying to kind of model this shape being everywhere, which sounded quite crazy. I don't have much time to play it to you, but I do have it there. This was just a weird thing that happened, but it gave me an idea. This is what gave me the idea. This psychic lady just got in touch with me for some reason, and she said, you're receiving codes. And she's like, where you see an elephant, you'll write your best music and you're going to download these codes. I don't know if any of this is probably not true, but it made me think, wow, I wonder if there are codes encoded in this architecture. And then I got a fever. I got really ill, and I had a terrible fever. And I properly started hallucinating because I was seeing that shape everywhere, which is just making me trip out like crazy. And I thought, have they done this on purpose? Are they trying to implant some information in me? Oh, well, that's the beginning of the track. I'll play you a few seconds of it. There you can hear the shape, maybe. It's in like an arpeggiator. I try to honor their music is like gamelan. I don't know if you've ever heard that. It's like very clashing, and I try to honor their scales. And it's a long piece. I'm sorry I don't have time, but just to tell you that these are all ideas for like putting into your sound, or your art or whatever. You know, they may have mystical significance. I don't want to say for sure, but they're nice inspirations. Just very quickly, I did do a study with EEGs, with my music, with the brain entrainment, and with the Roxiva light. And I won't go into that right now, but look at that brainwave pattern. This brainwave pattern looks like that symbol, that that thing we saw everywhere. I seen it everywhere. I saw it all over like Bangkok and Thailand and Cambodia and Vietnam and all over Asia. This symbol, this shape. Interestingly enough, if you look at it as a mind pattern, it's high gamma and it shows a sort of enlightened state, which again might be a coincidence or it might not be. But I thought that was pretty amazing. Oh, I was going to play you a track. I'm like at the end of time, so I don't think I should play you any more tracks, but these are all tracks I could have played you. I don't know. If I'm allowed, I'll play you a track. But anyway, aside that, that's the end of my talk. Thank you so much for listening.